Good afternoon, everyone. Is it working now? Oh, good. Okay. So let's get off to a start. I'm Emily Pedrazi. I'm a rising junior from a small school in Oregon, Redmond Proficiency Academy. And today we're going to be talking about self-care techniques, the limits of self-care, and more about it, and what you can do beyond self-care for your mental, physical, and emotional health. So, one second to get the slideshow pulled up. Okay, so going back, make sure to follow at Fiveable on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for updates on AP things and Camp Fiveable live streams. So starting out, physical, emotional, and mental health, the three cores of peak productivity. I personally define peak productivity as performing a task at maximum capacity without reaching, this is more of an economics term, but it's kind of the Goldilocks zone of productivity. You don't want to be putting in effort to the point where it just depletes the value. So physical health is obviously how you physically feel, but a lot of people don't know the difference between mental and emotional health. So that's what we're going to be going over next. The first difference is the scopes. Mental and emotional health. Mental health is a whole spectrum of things. Disorders, behavioral patterns, the way that you think, the way that you process events, compared to emotional health, which is just the managing and expressing of emotions, compared to mental health, processing experiences, reasoning skills, attention span. If you think about it, it's the components that go into a lot of disorders. So next is defining self-care, which is often misrepresented. It's not overindulging, it's not selfish to indulge in self-care, and it shouldn't be something that's unenjoyable to you. And it's done with the intention of improving your health. Don't do anything unhealthy. Unhealthy coping mechanisms such as self-harm or intentionally triggering yourself are commonly misportrayed. So the core of self-care. Stress management, nutrition, and balance are the three pillars. But within those, there is much more information. In stress management, you have time management, because stress is oftentimes caused by deadlines and procrastinations. I would say time management is the root of stress. Like, how many of you guys procrastinate on a regular basis? I know I procrastinate way too much, and I end up stressing out more in the end than I would if I just split it up into segments. But that also depends on how you work. Maybe you work better under pressure. There's also nutrition. For example, malnutrition can lead to fatigue and irritability, which impacts your ability to perform at peak performance. If you're tired, that's what you're going to be thinking about. Hungry, that's what you're going to be thinking about. And then you have to balance as well. Having too much of one thing too much of a good thing is bad. A good thing in your life might be considered your social life, but you don't want to focus fully on your social life because you need to provide for yourself at work or school. But you could also overwork yourself at work or school and neglect your social and personal life, which is more of what we're talking about today. So this infographic shows some ways to get your energy up by performing self-care. Exercise. We're going to talk about later on how exercise is a great thing to do during breaks, opposed to just sitting down and playing games or watching Netflix. taking more breaks. That's also really important, almost as important as what you do during those breaks. Managing time, which we're going to discuss some of those skills later on in the presentation. And there's much more as well to go over. So the components of time management. If you break up time management, you can pretty much divide it into 5 categories: prioritization, deadlines, breaks, scheduling, and organization. Starting off is prioritization, because whether you're feeling down or just stressed over everything to the point where you don't want to do anything. I have that happen all the time. And I will just end up doing the easy tasks that are due way ahead of time instead of the difficult tasks that are due maybe the night before. And I won't take breaks. I'll just start working the night before without a break and without planning ahead what I'm going to do. Or I'll be disorganized, so I will be searching my files or searching my email for something I need to work on, and that just takes more time. More time that you could be using either working or taking a break to get your energy back up and get to peak productivity. So we're going to discuss how to take a break properly. Did you know that the top 10% of productive individuals take a 52-minute work period and then a 17-minute break? The 52-17 rule. And I'll have links at the end of this so you can look into it more. But it's awfully specific, and if you can't keep track of that manually, set alarms and follow those alarms. And on your breaks, you should exercise or rest. Don't spend it preparing for more work or slacking off. Get your brain moving. Exercise stimulates the brain and the body, which boosts your ability to be productive. So the root of anxiety. For me, this personally manifests in procrastination, overstimulation, and stress. What about you guys? What's the root of anxiety for you? I would say that procrastination is relatively obvious as high school students. Procrastination, yeah. Oh, I feel that. I started studying for world history the week of, and the amount of stress is not worth it. Writing assignments, yeah. I'm not much for English. I'm more of a math science brain personally. Let's see. What do you guys stress over a lot? I would say that I stress about the future way too much, which also will bring us into a later slide about where your mind is currently and where your mind should be. So here's our first technique for stress relief. Oh, am I back? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not sure why Crowdcast is being so unstable today. It normally works just fine. But as I was saying before, there's 4 sides on a square, 4 seconds that you do each of these actions. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. 4 seconds each. This works by calming down your sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for our fight or flight response, which is a big part of the physical aspect of anxiety. So if you just try this before an exam or even when you're trying to sleep, if your heart keeps beating and you can't stop it, this should help slow your heart rate somewhat. So now we're going to get into where is your mind and grounding techniques. Oh, yeah. Okay, and getting back into it since it should be working now. So earlier we were talking about grounding and where your mind is, whether it's in the past, present, or the future. The only thing that really matters is the present moment. It's important to focus on your future, but don't be dreading every second and missing the present because of it. Okay, thank you. So a popular grounding technique that I've learned is look around you and see 5 things. Take a moment and describe them in your head, and then touch 4 things around you. Once again, describe, like, is it smooth, rough, polished? And then this one might be a little difficult if you're in a quiet testing room or just studying on your own, but hear 3 things. Maybe put on some music or listen to the vents in the room. And then smell 2 things. And then taste 1 thing, but I would recommend bringing mints or gum or something, some stimulus for your mouth along with you. So these will help you get back to the present moment. You'll be so focused in your head describing all the details that you'll forget what you're worrying about, at least momentarily. So now we have to discuss the limits. So self-care is good for temporary relief, productivity and focus, mood, confidence, and energy, but it can't resolve your mental health issues and it can't replace a medical professional. Oh, there we go. All right, so getting back to it, there's only so much that self-care can do for you. But after that, you can take steps by pursuing school counseling or local clinics. A lot of people underestimate the help that local clinics can provide and tend to go towards private practitioners, which unfortunately are far and few between. And psychiatrists for the medical end. Psychiatrists are the ones that give you prescriptions after discussing with your counselor or therapist about your condition. Or you can contact the suicide prevention hotline, which is on the slides. Okay, so what stops people from getting help if there's so many options? The root of being unable to receive help is stigma, fear, and a lack of resources. The stigma, which we will discuss later, is internal and publicly perceived, which we will also present some statistics about that. And the fear is the fear of the unknown. Like, you might have had that one friend who was hospitalized, or you heard about how it just made it worse to talk about problems, or you're just not used to opening up. Which, that's the fear of the unknown. That's a big one. And then a lack of resources. In the United States, the amount of resources are relatively good, but that's not the case in all communities. I know that some schools don't provide resources, or some countries haven't fully gotten to that position yet where they can, just because of the funding, which the cost is another issue. The cost of medication and therapy can be extremely expensive, but insurance and going to a local clinic can help. You don't have to go to the most expensive private practitioner. So expanding on stigma. So here we have the perceived public stigma in blue and the personal stigma in red. So there are some people who think that they would think less of a person who received treatment. But there's also significantly more that strongly disagree. Look, like 0.9 compared to 59 on the other end of the scale. It's heavily leading disagree on that. This is just statistics for the UK though, UK and US. And this is from 52 colleges across those countries and 46,000 students. Next, we're going to talk about involuntary hospitalization, which is expanding on the fear of the unknown. So this depends on your local laws, but generally in the United States, involuntary hospitalization is in place when an individual is perceived as a perceived threat to themselves or to others, and a detailed plan for suicide is present. But this doesn't occur when suicidal thoughts or feelings are expressed or when you're discussing previous incidents. It's good to open up if you need help, even though the topic can be difficult. But knowing your rights is the first step to feeling more secure. So the first steps to self-care overall, bouncing back to what you can do right now. Find your personalized solutions. Like maybe find sensory stimuli that comfort you. I enjoy lavender personally. And like the feeling of books, something to ground you, going back to that grounding technique, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. And then creating a list, getting it all out in front of you, and then organizing that list as well. Set it into a routine for those days that you're not Okay, and we're back. So finishing this off, self-care can only do so much for you. It's a great first step to what you can do yourself, but it can't replace a medical professional like we discussed earlier. Find stuff that works for you, create a list, and organize that into a routine, while also knowing the limits. Don't expect anything more, but don't settle for less. And then there's also some useful resources here on self-care, finding a therapist, and the hard skills. Since there's many different kinds of therapy: cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectal behavioral therapy, talk therapy, psychoanalytical. There's way too many to list off. But I will post these resources in there we go. And I've posted the resources that were on the slides into the chat. Something from the American Psychological Association, a great site for finding a therapist, although I'm not sure how well it works in smaller towns. And then an introduction to two of the more popular types of therapy: dialectal behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. Although there's much more than that. There's talk therapy, psychoanalytical therapy, and just too many to list. But this is a great introduction to all of those and how to learn some of the skills that you would learn in these types of therapy at home. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry for all the disconnecting. Crowdcast has been acting up lately. And I hope you guys learned some skills that will help calm you down, whether that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or this breathing exercise. Does anybody have any questions or discussion that they'd like to start? No questions? Oh, okay. In that case, you can just use your senses in different ways, like touch something 2 more times, or oftentimes you don't even need to get down to the 2 in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because you'd have already calmed down. Or you can just incorporate and substitute with other methods like the breathing method. And are there any other questions? Okay, if that's it, then thank you for coming, and I hope you learned something that can help you out, or learned how to take the next steps in getting help. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.